Verse 20 of chapter 16. Whoever gives heed to instruction prospers, and blessed is he who trusts in the Lord. So for a time, I was studying computer science. And I've tried to learn things on my own and had some success, but not great success. But when I had an instructor and I listened to what they wanted me to learn, I learned how to program. And I got pretty good at it. And if I had continued in that way, I could have made quite a bit of money. Because I heeded instruction, and it gave me someone who was interested in the outcome that was good, was directing me in a better way to reach a good outcome. Okay? God always does this with his instruction. There is a better way to reach a good outcome. Because we failed to heed his instruction, Christ had to come, die, and raise us back. But now, living as the newly raised, we trust in the Lord, and we receive the blessings of God as we follow his instructions. And the outcomes, eternal, certainly, that's guaranteed by Christ, but even mortal. The outcomes are we're hard workers, we're diligent. People look to us as good employees because we are looking out for their interests. All these things have good outcomes. And so we're blessed with life here in this world. Next one, 21. The wise in heart are called discerning, and pleasant words promote instruction. The first one is interesting. The wise in heart are called discerning, but I think the second is even more interesting. So, prejudice is bad, but not as it was originally intended to be. Prejudice, where we look at someone and we make a mischaracterization, a judgment against their interest because of external factors which really don't affect who they are and how they act, that's bad. But if we look at someone and we discern factors which will affect who they are and how they act, so for instance, I want a quarterback for my football team. If he has no legs, I'm probably not going to hire him as my quarterback for my football team. It makes the man, no less important, and no less loved, but can't quarterback. He'll need to do some other good vocation of God. The wise discern these things, and we discern the difference of good and evil. So notice I said about that man with no legs, not that he was valueless, but that he's infinitely valuable. And so we need to also seek good for him. And so if I have a young man who's coming to me with no legs and he wishes to be the quarterback of my football team, I discern that it would not be good for him to be the quarterback of my football team, but I would suggest to him that he play on a Special Olympics football team. And I would suggest that he be an example, if he does, to other young men of how to overcome obstacles and difficulties. So I discern that this young man is a blessed child of God with many wonderful talents. He's just not going to be a professional quarterback, not going to replace Patrick Mahomes. But he is no less valuable. So the wise are discerning. They look at things and they look at it from the perspective God has, and then they act in a manner which takes this judgment God would have them have, and they execute their life along that same way. So we try to be little Christ. We try to be Christians. Now the second half I said is kind of more interesting. And pleasant words promote instruction. I could be a drill sergeant in my class. I just taught religion class for the students today. I could say, you must do this in this class today, right? Oh, you are so stupid. Not a good idea, right? If I keep calling people stupid, if I keep tearing down their self-esteem, I make them not want to learn. I make them not want to listen, and I make them look to themselves and think, I can't do this. And the way the mind works, that sets up barricades against instruction. Certainly they'll learn something, but they won't learn much. The other side to this, though, is if I come in and I tell some jokes and I use some illustrations that go beyond, are interesting. Like, for instance, I just used the illustration of me in a classroom, and that brought you back into the classroom, right? And that founded it in something real to you. So I go into the classroom today. I was teaching about the attributes of God, and I use illustrations on what eternity is. It's a circle. Not really eternity, but we'll use the illustration. These pleasant words, these good ways of saying these things, help to drive them home in the brain. And then if I tell the students, I know you can do this. You're capable. I realize that I've got a room full of intelligent young people. Again, they feel good about themselves. Their mind gets a little sharper. Instead of fighting against what's coming in, they tend to fight for what's coming in, and the instruction works. And so pleasant words, both words that are pleasant because they're interesting and words which are pleasant because they're encouraging, make for an environment when teaching that results in people retaining. Like in this video, I'm trying to do pleasant words. Okay? Let's move to 22. Understanding is a fountain of life to those who have it, but folly brings punishment to fools. A theme of Solomon. So you have the knowledge of God, you understand it, you take it in, you use it, and now you live. You reject it, you're a fool, you look to the things of death, and bad things happen to you. And those bad things become a punishment. So after Adam and Eve fell into sin, God said, now when you try to grow food, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be by the sweat of your brow. The ground is going to have thorns. It's not going to go pleasantly. Because they sought after things of death, rather than sticking with their understanding that the tree of life good and the tree of knowledge of good and evil bad. They, instead of getting life, now they have this time of death when it's labor, it's sweat, it's unpleasant to do the things often from which we derive our living, our food, our wealth. 23. A wise man's heart guides his mouth, and his lips promote instruction. So when we use heart here, we're talking love. A wise man is someone who understands things of God. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So a person who studies the things of God has his heart filled with love, and the love in his heart guides what he says with his lips, which leads us to these statements by mothers to their children. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Or the wise words of a husband to his wife when she asks, does this make me look fat? And he says, darling, you're beautiful in whatever you wear. Which is true, by the way. It's not a falsehood, but it's also wise to give reassurance and comfort to your wife that she's beautiful, that she is deserving of admiration, that she is a prize. Okay, so the wise man allows the love of his heart to guide the words of his mouth, not to dishonesty, but to honesty which encourages and builds up those around us. And then it says, and his lips promote instruction. And so as he speaks these words of love, as he's guided in saying things which are kind, he also is instructing others in a proper understanding of how to live, and instructing himself in a proper understanding of how to live. So we should live with others' interests at heart. And so our heart guides us to wise words, good words for others. That shows our interest for them. Then they take an interest in themselves, an interest in us, because they love us. Those loving words inspire back love. Acts of love result in return acts of love. Instruction guides to acts of love. We'll stop there. We will continue with our next video.